Good evening, I'm Wendy Mesley, and this is The National. Urgent reaction to our revelation of cell phone surveillance at Parliament Hill.
We want to make sure that we get to the bottom of this.
A minister says who's not listening in. Children among the dozens slaughtered in Syria in an apparent chemical attack. We look for truth in the fog of war. Fox News takes a hit over tales of harassment. Plus, the Métis sniper who saved lives at Vimy Ridge.
He had the upbringing, the hunting skills to move with great stealth.
In this age of allegations of wiretapping and foreign espionage, our explosive story about how someone is tracking mobile phones in Ottawa elicited a lot of reaction. The key question, who's behind it? Is it part of a criminal investigation or something more nefarious? Today, the Public Safety Minister told CBC News he has no idea who installed the so-called IMSI catchers near Parliament Hill, that it was neither the RCMP nor Canada's spy agency. But as Catherine Cullen tells us, both are now working to figure out who did.
Obviously, we are very anxious to determine who lies at the source of this activity.
After our report aired, the Public Safety Minister says he called the heads of 2 Canadian security agencies, and what he learned worries him. Ralph Goodale says it's not some legally sanctioned Canadian authority tracking cell phones in Ottawa.
The activity that was reported last evening does not, I repeat, does not involve a Canadian agency like the RCMP or CSIS.
Yesterday, CBC News reported that someone is using a device that spies on cell phones, known as an IMSI catcher, near Parliament Hill. The device can track phones and in some cases even monitor conversations. And they are used by all kinds of groups, this US-based counterintelligence expert told us.
Well, law enforcement, federal agencies, but we're also seeing organised crime and foreign intelligence.
Over the course of several months, a CBC Radio-Canada team took an IMSI catcher detection device around downtown Ottawa. In December and January, it led to a flurry of warnings. We got alerts in the Byward Market, the Rideau Centre shopping mall, and the CBC offices. An IMSI catcher has about a half-kilometre radius in a city, which means the catchers we detected could reach all of Parliament Hill, Langevin Block, where the Prime Minister's office is, National Defence, the U.S. Embassy, and the Israeli Embassy. The North American supplier of our IMSI catcher detector looked at what we'd found and said it appeared the devices were foreign.
We're seeing more IMSI catchers with different configurations, and we can build a signature. So we're seeing IMSI catchers that are more likely Chinese, Russian, Israeli, and so forth.
Embassies for all 3 of those countries rejected any suggestion of involvement, with Russia saying any claims of those activities are bogus and baseless, and the Chinese saying such allegations were unreasonable and even irresponsible.
Do you have indications whether it might be organized crime within Canada or foreign intelligence?
At this stage, that would just be a speculation on my part.
Several MPs say they're troubled too.
It shows the shifting nature of the threat that we all face, not only institutionally, but also personally.
Certainly my first reaction is deep concern.
And the question of who is behind it has everyone talking.
25 years ago, to gain access to this type of technology, you had to be a state and a military. Today, unfortunately, it's easier to gain access to that, so you have a lot more people who are performing espionage and other potential spying techniques in different countries around the world.
Public Safety says its agencies do have the tools to detect and pursue whoever is behind this. Now it's up to CSIS and the RCMP to do that. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
If you missed Catherine's original investigative piece from last night, it's up on the National's website and on our YouTube channel. To Syria and a much-professed point of no return, the war may have reached again. A suspected chemical weapons attack may have killed dozens, including children. The alleged attack happened in northwestern Syria in the small town of Khan Sheikhoun, a poisoned arrow piercing anti-government territory. The graphic images you'll see tell a heartbreaking story, but there are still questions about its accuracy. Renee Filipponi has our story from London.
It's difficult to watch as the victims, many children, struggle to breathe in what's being described by witnesses on the ground as a chemical weapons attack. This woman, crying at the feet of dead bodies, lost 2 children and says she only has God left. The images posted online could not be independently verified by the CBC. This one shows victims being hosed off in the streets.
This hospital is now being overwhelmed with patients that have been hit by some sort of chemical. This is not chlorine.
A doctor points to the dilated pupils on his patients. He believes a nerve gas like sarin has been used and that other victims have been seen vomiting and foaming at the mouth. Then, hours after the initial attack, this video, taken in a clinic by a Syrian activist, shows an apparent airstrike there.
What we have understood, it was a chemical attack and it came from the air. We have been and we will be stimulating all those who have the capacity of finding out technically what it happened.
Officials don't know what chemical was used, but the blame today by many is on the Syrian government, who has denied any involvement, along with its Russian allies.
We condemn the use of chemical weapons in all circumstances. If proven, this will be further evidence of the barbarism of the Syrian regime.
It's being called the worst toxic attack in Syria since 2013, when more than 1,000 people died in a Damascus suburb. Eventually, the Syrian president vowed to destroy the country's chemical weapons.
Everything that they declared left the country. We can absolutely guarantee that. So the issue then becomes, is this new stuff, if it indeed is a warfare agent, or is it undeclared?
The UN Security Council will hold an emergency meeting tomorrow. As Syria's people, once again victims in the country's long-running civil war, continue to help the wounded and mourn the dead. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
For more on this, let's bring in Evan Dyer in Ottawa. Evan, last few days we've seen U.S. officials say removing Assad from power is not a priority. How much of a change is that?
Well, it's a big change if you think back to 2011 when the Syrian civil war began and the Obama administration had a very clear line that Assad must go, but then it never did anything to actually make that happen. And so by 2015, by the end of 2015, when John Kerry went to Moscow, already the U.S. was backing off that position, and we saw John Kerry admit that it was an obvious non-starter, his words, to insist that Assad step aside as a precondition for talks. So really this is the Trump administration being honest about what has been a de facto U.S. policy for some time now.
So what kind of difference does that make, this message? What does that say to Assad?
Well, the rebel side, I think, will say that this is emboldening him to stage this kind of attack, that he feels he's got a renewed sense of impunity. But I do think we have to be very careful about the reporting on this attack. This is coming from a part of Syria, Idlib, that has been under the control of al-Qaeda for a couple of years now. There's no independent reporting coming from this area. We've seen the government of Canada put out a statement where it says it can't confirm who did this, but it does say that the UN body that investigates chemical weapons attacks in Syria has concluded in the past that the government of Syria has used chemical weapons against its own people, which is true, Wendy, but the same investigative body also concluded that the rebel side has used mustard gas against Syrian civilians. So the Syrian government is saying this was an al-Qaeda chemical facility that blew up. We don't know if there's any truth to that, but al-Qaeda does have a strong fascination with chemical weapons and a track record of trying to produce them. The rebel side is saying that these were fired from the air by Syrian aircraft. Truth is, really, we just have no way of knowing.
Evan Dyer, thanks so much. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, Wendy.
The Conservative Party says the Defence Minister deliberately misled the House of Commons and all Canadians last year about the government's decision to withdraw Canadian fighter jets from Iraq. At the time, the government said Canada's allies understood and respected the decision, but the Conservatives obtained documents that show the Iraqi government tried to convince Harjit Sajjan to reconsider. Asked today why he never told Canadians that, Sajjan said this.
I spent 2 separate trips going into the region, talking to our coalition partners, talking to the regional leadership there, to making sure that we have a plan that's actually going to have an impact.
In an interview on CBC Radio's The House in January 2016, Sajjan did concede that allies had mixed feelings about the decision to withdraw the CF-18s. The death toll in yesterday's St. Petersburg subway bombing has gone up to 14, and now Russian investigators say they know who did it. Authorities believe this 22-year-old, formerly of Kyrgyzstan, detonated a suicide bomb. His DNA was also found on a bomb police defused at another subway station. He has no known links to terror groups. South Korea says North Korea has fired another ballistic missile. Seoul says it came from a base near the eastern coastal town of Sinpo and traveled about 60 kilometers into the Sea of Japan. The U.S. military says initial assessments suggest the weapon was a medium-range ballistic missile. The launch comes just days before a meeting between the U.S. and Chinese presidents who are expected to discuss North Korea's weapons program. Coming up, a Métis marksman's heroic exploits at Vimy Ridge.
This is the part of the history, our contribution to the world.
Plus, one couple's mission to bring living biblical history back to the Holy Land.
I realized that we'd need our own personal set of miracles.
Multiple allegations of sexual harassment didn't get him fired. Now, many are wondering whether multiple major corporations pulling their ads from Bill O'Reilly's show will. Tonight, at least 18 companies say they don't want their commercials airing during the popular Fox News program. The move follows revelations that 5 women who accused O'Reilly of inappropriate behavior were paid millions to keep quiet. Paul Hunter has more.
It is a super popular, mega money-making program for Fox News.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight.
Its host, Bill O'Reilly, is arguably the best-known TV personality in the cable news industry. And now his show is being abandoned by major sponsors. BMW today leading a group of advertisers pulling back from O'Reilly's program after 2 big companies started things yesterday, all citing allegations of sexual harassment against O'Reilly.
I simply said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And he immediately got defensive and said, what do you mean? You think I'm going to attack you or something?
Yesterday, one-time Fox News commentator Wendy Walsh recounted how, when she once rebuffed O'Reilly's advances, she was soon no longer invited on Fox News.
We are calling today for an independent investigation into the culture of sexual harassment at Fox News.
Walsh's story was among those reported by the New York Times last weekend in an investigation detailing that 5 other women accusing O'Reilly were given settlements totaling $13 million to keep quiet. In a statement about all of it, O'Reilly responded, "Just like other prominent and controversial people, I'm vulnerable to lawsuits from individuals who want me to pay them to avoid negative publicity." Though Walsh underlines she seeks none of that.
I'm not litigious. I don't want any money. There's no lawsuit. It's just authentic honesty.
And these aren't the first such complaints at Fox News. Last summer, Chief Executive Roger Ailes was forced out of his job after such accusations, with a fresh allegation against him just this week. Though when former Fox News host Megyn Kelly alleged she had been harassed by Ailes, O'Reilly used his program to then go after Kelly.
If somebody is paying you a wage, you owe that person or company allegiance. If you don't like what's happening in the workplace, go to Human Resources or leave.
Still, setting aside the sponsors now re-examining O'Reilly's program, Fox News is thriving. Audience numbers for the first 3 months of this year were its best ever, and its biggest star leads the way. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
The Supreme Court of the Netherlands has cleared the way for a convicted cyberbully to be extradited to Canada in the case of Amanda Todd. The 15-year-old took her life after posting a YouTube video saying she was blackmailed online. A 38-year-old Dutch man faces charges in Canada of extortion, possession of child pornography, and attempting to lure a child online. It's not clear when he could be brought to Canada. Senator Don Meredith faced a committee of his peers today. He made his case to stay in the Senate in the face of a recent graphic report by the Senate ethics officer. It detailed the relationship he started with a teenage girl when she was 16. But as Katie Simpson tells us, the Senate went out of its way to make sure Meredith didn't say anything outside the room.
Well before Don Meredith was expected to arrive, news crews gathered for the senator's highly anticipated appearance. But security was given special instructions to keep reporters away from the room, an unusual move that shielded Meredith from the national media. This picture, snapped as the senator snuck away, is the only proof he appeared in person before the Ethics Committee meeting to decide his fate.
He is respecting the process, respecting the work of the Senate, and he is engaged with it, and I don't know that he can do anything else.
Meredith and his lawyer made the case today as to why the senator should keep his job. The conversations are confidential as part of the ongoing ethics review process.
I deeply regret this.
Meredith has rejected calls to resign in the wake of a report by the ethics officer that detailed his sexual relationship with a young woman before she turned 18. The committee will consider the arguments as it comes up with possible punishment recommendations that will eventually be put to the Senate for a vote.
We are looking at all the factors. We're looking at the precedents that we have to deal with. So it is a complex issue, and we'll move as efficiently as we can.
In fact, he has violated the Code of Ethics in a very egregious manner, and therefore he has no place in the Senate. He has a right to defend himself, which he is doing today.
Since Meredith won't quit, demands for his expulsion are growing, even though it's unclear whether the Senate has the authority to kick him out for good. Some senators are calling this a private matter, though, and warn punishment could set a dangerous precedent.
It is a slippery slope.
Why?
Because where will it go? Who knows?
Meredith remains on sick leave from the Senate and appeared today with permission from his doctor. There's still no timeline on when the Senate will come up with its recommendations, saying only it wants to deal with the matter promptly. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
In southern Colombia, after heavy rains triggered mudslides, finding the dead is still a challenge. The death toll is now more than 270 and still rising. Today, some families were finally able to bury the dead. People are also searching for what few belongings the rains didn't destroy. Thousands are now living in shelters. Vaccinations for chickenpox, hepatitis, and tetanus are being given out. Heavy rains are causing havoc in Argentina. More than 2,000 homes have been destroyed, leaving small cities flooded. More rain is on the way. And in Australia, even with Cyclone Debbie long gone, the aftermath lingers. Neighborhoods are still flooded. The cleanup is estimated in the billions. Debbie, no longer a cyclone, is now hitting New Zealand with strong winds and heavy rains. NHL players are responding to the league's decision to not participate in the next Winter Olympics, which it has done since 1998. The NHL made the call after failing to reach a deal with the IOC over issues like money and video rights. But with the exception of a notable Russian hockey superstar, few players seem ready to defy their clubs, at least so far. Faz Jamil has that.
This was Sidney Crosby's winning moment, the gold medal final at the 2010 Olympic Games. So was this last year at the Stanley Cup Finals. Since 1998, NHL players have had the chance to play for their country in between hitting the ice for their team. Now, the NHL says it won't allow players to be in both, leaving them with a tough choice.
I mean, it's a difficult situation to be in, there's no doubt, but I know some guys have been vocal about going regardless, but I'm not sure if I'm thinking quite that far ahead yet.
Ovechkin got it.
Other players have. Washington Capitals forward Alex Ovechkin has been saying for months he will play for Russia in the Olympics and try for his first gold medal no matter what.
In my mind, like I said already, I'm going, it doesn't matter what. For us as a player, still wants to go there and represent our countries.
It's not just players. Fans may feel they have to choose between watching their team and watching their country.
There's a lot at stake.
Some analysts believe the NHL runs the risk of having a competing event during their season that could split viewership.
I would say here's what would happen. The hardcore NHL fans would stay watching the NHL. But the casual fans, the slight fans, would gravitate to the Olympics. Why? Because it's such a massive event. There are so many parts to it.
CBC, that airs both NHL and Olympic Games, says it's too early to worry about scheduling.
Whoever wears the jersey come Pyeongchang for the men's hockey team, we're confident Canadian hockey fans will be leaning forward and cheering for them.
Many believe this is all a negotiation tactic by the NHL, hoping to get concessions from the IOC on players' costs and video rights. Whether it is or not, many young NHL stars are now wondering if they'll have to choose between team loyalty or Olympic glory. Fez Jamil, CBC News, Toronto.
Straight ahead, imagine if your rent doubled overnight. It's real, and it's part of a pressing debate.
A new life for more than 250 people. The Arusa Sun carries refugees from Hungary, those who fought against a tyrannical government and then fled when their cause was crushed by Russian tanks. More than 3,000 people jammed the dockyard to shout their welcome. And they marched down the liner's gangplank onto Canadian soil, accompanied by the music of the Royal 22nd Regiment's band.
Canada is one of the few countries accepting Vietnamese refugees. Under our present quota, by the end of the year, we will have taken 2,000 from Hong Kong. For the past 6 months, it's been up to a dedicated 22-year-old Montrealer Scott Mullen to decide who gets in and who doesn't.
Okay, we will accept his application to go to Canada.
How do you know they can adapt to Canada?
Well, if somebody can sail across the South China Sea and spend 2 months on sea, a few months here in a camp situation like this, I think they'll be able to adapt reasonably well.
Noontime, and the would-be refugees are allowed outside for an hour. When the hour is up, they go back, single file, into the stuffy gymnasium that is their home. The Canadian government hasn't had to publicly explain why it's detaining these people for so long, except to say that it doesn't yet know for sure who they really are or whether they'll show up for their immigration hearings.
All of the other illegal immigrants that have come here, they haven't been treated that way.
The turbans and beards are a great influence.
Members of the local Sikh community are upset with the way the government and the way the Canadian public has reacted to this latest boatload of people. This is the image that stands out most in people's minds.
I think they should ship them all back where they come from.
Canada will give political asylum to 26,000 Yugoslavian refugees. While it's welcome news, refugee advocates say the Canadian government is playing a dangerous double standard. They say refugees from Somalia should get the same treatment as those from Yugoslavia.
As we know, the civil war and also the famine has displaced millions of people.
Yesterday, Somalis protested outside of immigration offices calling for fair treatment.
Somalia is more than Sarajevo. So if they don't give it down to Somalia...
Different language, different culture, different lives. You can see the strain on so many faces. Crammed into a gymnasium, the refugees listen to the Prime Minister explain he hopes they can one day return to their homeland if they choose.
And I'm sure that you can feel at home among us.
Canada's global trade took a big dive in February, according to a new report from Stats Canada. After 3 straight months of surplus, a sudden drop of almost $1 billion. The trade deficit was $972 million. We imported slightly more, but exports slumped, including agricultural and fishing products, notably canola, which China buys a lot of. Aircraft and other transportation exports were down too. Economists say Canada's economy is still in strong shape overall. Here's another number that might get your attention. Monthly rent going up by 100%. That's right, double from one month to the next. As the CBC's Jacqueline Hansen tells us, it's happening in Ontario, it's perfectly legal, and it's renewing the debate on rent control.
John Morehouse has called this building home for more than 2 years. But late last week, he and his roommate got notice that their rent is going up 100%, from more than $1,600 to about $3,300.
At first, I thought it was a joke.
But it's no joke. In Ontario, landlords can raise rents by as much as they like.
$3,320.
As long as the building was built after 1991. Units occupied before that are protected by rent control.
You think the law would be updated, and if you look at how many new apartments and new condo buildings have been built in Toronto and the GTA in the past even 5 years, there's hundreds. It just is shocking.
An Ontario MPP is trying to make that happen, calling for rent control on all buildings. But a new report says that's the wrong medicine. Well-known Canadian economist Benjamin Tal argues rent control is the exact opposite of what the GTA market needs. If history is a guide, such policy will mostly hurt the people it's trying to protect. The theory is rent control puts a cap on profits, so developers won't build rental units, but rather condos that they can sell. It's an issue Toronto City councillors are keenly aware of.
How do you create a balance between this? It's really important. And how do you respond to the new reality of what is today, and increasingly so, a different rental market?
Ontario's premier argues that getting rid of rent control after 1991 didn't help with the goal of building more rental apartments.
There have not been rental buildings built in any comprehensive way, and so that argument does not actually hold water with me at this point.
He seems to be suggesting that the way to make rents more affordable is to allow landlords to raise them more, and that doesn't really seem to make any sense.
A tenants advocacy group in Toronto wants to see more regulation so people aren't forced out of their homes by sudden rent spikes.
The major purpose of rent regulation is to provide security of tenure for tenants, so they're not economically evicted by large rent increases.
Morehouse says there's no way he can pay the higher rent.
Even if our rent was going up a little bit, that would be okay, but 100%. There's no way.
While extreme rent hikes like the one for some renters in this building are very unusual, the concern for many tenants is that they're possible. And in a city where the average one-bedroom rent is close to $1,800, one fewer affordable unit just drives up the demand and likely the price for others. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Even the hardiest Canadians used to the harshest winters are saying enough is enough in Newfoundland. The whiteout blizzard conditions didn't let up today, so between all the school and store closings, parts of the island are all but shut down. More than a meter of snow has been dumped in the past 6 days.
It's terrible. I can't even see it in my windows inside.
Instead of work and school, shoveling was today's daunting task, although some people are sticking to the idea that it's spring. Meteorologists say the snow should finally stop tomorrow. And along with all the snow in that province, another whammy, this one for fishermen. Hard new cuts slash how much shrimp and crab they can catch. Some say newly imposed quotas will hurt people barely getting by as it is. But as Mark Quinn tells us, there's evidence that cuts may be the only way to save the industry.
It's been a difficult week for fishermen like these, absorbing a double blow delivered by the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans. Yesterday, they learned the snow crab catch will be slashed by 22%. And on Friday, DFO announced the shrimp quota has also been cut by 63%. Scientists say the cuts are necessary because crab and shrimp numbers have plummeted. Heartbreaking for fishermen who say a good portion of their incomes have just disappeared.
This year, if it's a 63% cut, you'll be down to less than £20,000. A trip of shrimp was basically £60,000, so we won't even have 1/3 of a trip.
So that's devastating.
Well, basically the shrimp fishery is over for us now.
Memorial University of Newfoundland professor Brad DeYoung is studying the effects of climate change on the ocean. He says global warming has heated up the far north, melting glaciers and sea ice and sending cooler water south to Newfoundland and Labrador. Conditions that some believe will be good for cod and bad for shrimp and crab. A decline some say will be spurred on by rebounding cod stocks that eat those shellfish. But DeYoung says it's not that simple. And he says in the face of a lot of uncertainty, reducing quotas is a good idea.
It's really the only tool we have that we directly control that influences the ocean. And it's the right thing to do.
Even harder for some to take is that DeYoung says quota cuts aren't a short-term fix. DeYoung says one thing the cod moratorium of 1992 has taught him is that no one should expect fish stocks to rebound quickly after quota cuts.
What careful analysis of stocks around the world has shown is that that expectation is wrong.
After the cod collapsed, fishermen were encouraged to turn to crab and shrimp, and they did. Now DeYoung says he's heard fishermen say the recently announced cuts to those fisheries make no sense because catch rates for crab and shrimp remain high. But he says they said the same thing about cod before the cod stocks collapsed in the 1990s. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Now stay tuned for these stories.
This has all the different permissions to allow the sheep to be loaded.
There are lots of hurdles to clear when bringing an ancient line of sheep back to the Holy Land. Plus, most movies aren't kind to Muslims. That's on our Viewpoint segment. Let's check the day's business numbers. The TSX rose 84 points. The dollar lost a tenth of a cent. In New York, the Dow gained 39 points. The price of oil climbed 79 cents a barrel.
The game is Space War and is played on a computer. At the moment, it provides esoteric sport for young mathematicians at MIT. Someday, it may train them to fight a war in space.
Whether it's the nice zingy sound they make, the electronic challenge, or just the thrill of controlling what happens on a television screen, TV games are exerting a powerful fascination.
What do you think of the game you're playing?
I love it.
These students at the University of Alberta in Edmonton have developed a series of games that can be played on the computer.
The idea of the game is to manipulate the cursor towards your enemy until you get him in the center. And once you've got him there, bang, and he's dead.
Defender, Asteroids, Missile Command, the names of some of the arcade hits that are attracting millions of video addicts every day. Video junkies have a current favorite. Someone even wrote a song about Pac-Man. Pac-Man grossed more money in arcades last year than the movie Star Wars, one of the most successful Hollywood films. These are not games you would find in an arcade. They are the latest generation of home video. And this is where the real boom in the industry is occurring.
I don't play that much.
They're really addicted to this thing.
This is a story about a game. A game some say is so exciting, so enthralling, so much fun, that if you ever start playing, you won't be able to stop. Your fingers flying over buttons as you jump, fly, crush, and kill your way through an alternate reality.
Alluring, fascinating, compelling. A curse.
They're video games, the flashy, trashy offshoots of the computer revolution.
Its programmers say we haven't seen anything yet.
The first, the best known, the sex change operation was one performed about 15 years ago on a young ex-GI named George Jorgensen, who went to Copenhagen and came back as Christine. When Christine's story was told around the world, there were applications from hundreds of young men who wanted to undergo the same kind of operation.
Well, Diana, now that you're officially a woman, how does it feel?
I feel absolutely marvelous, thank you.
Did you always want to be a woman?
As long as I can remember, sir, yes.
And now that you are, what do you miss most about being a man?
I never was really in intensity a man, or psychologically, so I miss nothing about my malehood.
Lee Davis of Ottawa was born a woman. Recently, after a number of medical operations, Lee Davies became a man.
I was only a kid. I felt different. I mean, I knew I wasn't, my body wasn't what my mind was saying I was. my mind was totally male.
Caroline's surgery 17 years ago gave her the woman's body she dreamt of and a model's salary of $200,000 a year. No one questioned her femininity. In fact, she modeled for 7 years before the British tabloids made her story public. She even played a Bond girl in a 007 film. It's only the British government that doesn't accept the change.
I'm sort of classified still as a man. I mean, I break the law every day if I use the women's toilet. I mean, I can't really use the men's. I mean, if I committed a crime, I'd be in a men's prison.
It's just a strange thing to explain to somebody, but I had a passion for doing this. And I think when you have a passion and a dream, and you never give up, then eventually you're going to achieve it.
Herding sheep is an ancient occupation, but the couple in this story put a brand new spin on it. They devoted themselves to moving a large herd thousands of kilometers from Canada to Israel. Why? They are named for a figure in the Bible, and many believe they're descended from animals mentioned in the book of Genesis. Here's Derek Stoffel with the saga of the Jacob sheep.
These serene hills are hallowed and historic, where the stories of the Bible played out thousands of years ago. Now, some biblical characters are back after a long absence. They're called Jacob's sheep. They were brought back by these modern-day shepherds.
It's a very, very enlightening feeling, you know. We believe we are doing something significant historically.
The flock is now home at this farm in Nes Harim, an agricultural town high in the hills west of Jerusalem. Gil and Jenna Lewinsky, husband and wife, brought them here, carrying out a plan of biblical proportions. Gil was born in Israel, but spent most of his life in Canada. Jenna is from South Africa. She met Gil, they moved to Abbotsford, BC, and that's where all this began, where they first learned about the rare breed known as Jacob's sheep. While extinct in the Middle East, the animals were introduced to Europe and North America. In BC, they started to learn about the breed and their history. The story of Jacob's sheep is found in the book of Genesis, where the patriarch Jacob took speckled sheep and bred them with a spotted variety. The result, a breed that usually has as many as 6 horns, white with black patches.
I felt I had to preserve this. The flock I had with me, I wanted to preserve it because it is something very precious.
In Abbotsford, the Lewinskys began to buy up all the Jacob sheep they could find, then started breeding them. By last summer, they had more than 100 on their farm, so the couple decided it was time to leave their jobs in Canada and completely change their lives.
That's when I started to realize in my own spiritual journey how much more there is to life. And I think something inside of me came alive.
But moving a big flock of sheep halfway around the world isn't that easy.
When I started to look into sending the sheep to Israel, I realized that we'd need our own personal set of miracles.
They needed to cut through all kinds of red tape in Canada and from the Israeli government as well. The sheep would fly to Israel, but out of Toronto. So the animals were loaded onto a truck for their cross-country journey from Abbotsford to Hamilton, Ontario, where they had to stay in quarantine for a while, before heading to Pearson Airport in Toronto.
The first one? 5,000.
It's time for one last check from the vet, Dr. A.K. Bardwaj.
When we are loading them,
there should be no injury, there should be no abuse to the animals. So that's what I'm checking to make sure everything goes fine.
Come on, girls. Come on. Come on, Mama. Okay, come on, Mama.
Then it's over to Air Canada, in charge of what is the largest airlift of animals from Canada ever.
Easy, easy, easy. Easy, Mama. Go in. There you go.
The big concern, making sure they can breathe on board. That means the flock has to be split up, loaded into a special crate over 11 separate flights from Toronto to Tel Aviv. "12 hours later, they've arrived. After 3 years and a journey of nearly 15,000 kilometers, the sheep are home, back in the Holy Land. First, though, they have to clear customs.
It says all the different permissions to allow the sheep to be loaded.
So now what happens?
Now we load the sheep. Let's go.
They're a little shy at first, but soon this group, 19 in all, is loaded up and sent to yet another quarantine in southern Israel. And that's where the problems begin. It's cold when they arrive, lots of rain takes its toll, and 5 sheep die.
They had to basically survive there in those conditions for the mandatory 8 days for that shipment. So some of the sheep just weren't strong enough.
After a few weeks, the remaining flock, 114 in all, are on the road again, heading from southern Israel to the farm at Nes Harim. Still, there are challenges. Livestock theft is a big problem in Israel, so the Lewinsky's have security cameras installed. At night, the sheep are locked inside the barn. Gil and Jenna keep an eye on them 24 hours a day. So far, it's cost about $80,000 to bring the sheep to Israel. Most of that paid for by a group of Jewish and Christian donors back in Hamilton, Ontario.
It's just a strange thing to explain to somebody, but I had a passion for doing this. And I think when you have a passion and a dream, and you never give up, then eventually you're going to achieve it.
Even though some animal experts have raised doubts that DNA of these sheep is the same that dates back to the biblical flock, that doesn't matter to the Lewinsky's. And to this respected biblical scholar, Yair Zakovich from Hebrew University in Jerusalem.
It felt great. It really felt great. Made me very happy.
Zakovich says bringing the sheep back here is part of something larger happening these days across the Holy Land.
We are nostalgic, and we want this country to look at least a bit the way it looked in the biblical times, as if we are attaching ourselves back to the Bible and having the same fauna and flora and all the animals here is part of this big, large picture.
Jacob's sheep have probably not roamed these hallowed hills for some 2,500 years. The Lewinsky's say bringing them back has become their calling.
They're actually property of the descendants of Jacob, which are the Jewish people today. So for this reason, it's very, very important for them to return to Israel, where the Jewish people have their state.
They have big plans for their flock. The Lewinsky's want people to come and meet the sheep. They're planning on opening a heritage farm here, so Israelis and tourists alike can come to reach out and touch a piece of biblical history, now roaming in these sacred hills. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Nes Harim, Israel.
may not recognize his face or know his name, but Henry Norwest sacrificed his life in the First World War. Like many Métis and other Indigenous soldiers, his story isn't well known to most Canadians. Now, his great-granddaughter wants to change that. As we approach 100 years since the Battle of Vimy Ridge, tonight, Briar Stewart begins this week's special coverage with Remembering Henry.
Marilyn Buffalo first heard the name Henry Norwest when she was a little girl, as she listened to her grandmother recount stories about her own father.
One of the things that she told me was that last thing she remembers is a very handsome man came to bid her goodbye at the residential school, and that was her dad.
Back then, Henry Norwest went as Henry Louis, a Métis father of 3. On his enlistment papers, he described himself as a cowpuncher by trade, or a ranch hand. Yet his initial stint in the military didn't last long. A few months after he signed up, Henry Louis was discharged for what back then was referred to as drunkenness. But military historians say he wasn't deterred.
He went south, waited a while, changed his name, and signed up again, this time with the 50th Battalion.
And it was with that unit that Henry Norwest shone as a sniper.
This is the Mark II Ross rifle.
His rifle is on display at this military museum in Calgary.
He had the hunting skills to be able to move with great stealth and to be able to use camouflage and the natural foliage around him to hide.
Normally, snipers worked with an observer, but Norwest was frequently on his own, creeping through no man's land. A fellow soldier said he went about his work with passionate dedication and showed complete detachment from everything while he was in the line. Off the battlefield, it was a different story.
He was a popular guy with the girls, and then he would dance all night and then duck out on the girls at the end of the night. So that's how he earned his name, Ducky.
Norwest was awarded a military medal for his sniping at Vimy Ridge in 1917, which records said saved a great number of men's lives. He went off to fight in other battles throughout France, but just 3 months before the war ended, Norwest was shot and killed. Inscribed on his grave marker at the time, 115 for his confirmed number of hits. Today, Norwest's legacy is honored at the cemetery in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, and is part of an exhibit in Edmonton. Yet his story is still relatively unknown.
This is the part of the history, our contribution to the world, the British Empire, 100 years ago, and it has to be honored.
Buffalo hopes more Canadians get a chance to learn about her great-grandfather and his contribution as a celebrated Métis marksman. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Edmonton.
Peter and our team will have special coverage from Vimy on the National starting Thursday. Here's a sneak peek.
Weighs about 40 pounds.
Our chief correspondent collecting 360-degree images for Google from the trenches of the century-old battlefield and underground, too. In the skies, you can't miss them coming. Red Sharon will introduce us to the Canadians working hard to get these First World War planes off the ground for Sunday's big memorial. Those are just a couple of the stories we'll have for you over the next few nights. And on Sunday, Peter will host live coverage of the 100th anniversary commemoration. That starts at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on CBC Television, News Network, and online. Right now, stick around for our Viewpoint segment. Our guest has a proposal for bringing Canadians together.
This is Niagara Falls, and if you've noticed a little more foam at its base lately, perhaps it's mainly because of the beer. Beer that's being dumped by the caseload into the custom shed washroom upriver at Fort Erie.
They are bringing more beer than usual on account of the beer strike in Ontario.
One Hamilton man who shuffled off to Buffalo to pick up a couple of six-packs got his comeuppance, but at least he, unlike many others, was able to kiss his beer goodbye.
A Canadian beer drinking tradition is disappearing fast, and the first place they're feeling it is in the Maritimes. What's vanishing are those squat and stubby dark brown bottles.
The Canadian brewery industry has spent millions of dollars to make the change to long neck bottles, and part of that cost is a result of scenes like this. There's no doubt that Cape Bretoners have done their part to support the brewery industry, and some wonder why the beer couldn't have found its way to a charitable cause. It's a beer drinker's lament. 700 cases of supposedly good brew down the drain, so to speak.
Brewers say the change was inevitable. Light beer has become popular, and American beer and twist-off caps.
I find when you're drinking out of it that it foams up more.
But most beer drinkers have adjusted.
Oh, as long as the beer's still there.
Specialty brewers are on the hop these days, rushing to cash in on more relaxed liquor laws.
Now that Canadian liquor laws are changing, new breweries are springing up all over. There's one in the back of this pub in Kingston, Ontario. But the idea of drinking the stuff that's made in the back room is catching on.
It's got a hell of a lot more body than Canadian beer, I'll tell you that.
It's very smooth, it's very easy to drink.
Okay, Ernie, if you could picture yeast there. Yeah.
Bernie Knudsen has been coming to this so-called U-Brew store for about 3 years. It's easy and it's cheap. Making your own beer and wine in British Columbia is virtually tax-free. You can brew a dozen bottles here for about $10. Buying it at the liquor store would cost $15.
For the working men, yes, it's the working people, the working class people, it's a way better deal.
Most hours have 60 minutes. This hour has 7 days. Tonight, Ralph Nader charges the Detroit car companies with running risks that can't hurt them, but do hurt us.
I could give an example of the Buick Roadmaster in 1953. The one with power brakes came onto the market, many thousands of, with a defective braking system. Now,
You mean in the 53 Buick Roadmaster,
with power
a driver
brakes.
would literally go from normal brakes to no brakes like that?
Right, that's right. This is documented in court records, which is very interesting. It shows you that the only way we find out about these things is through the cumbrous process of the judicial system. So what you want to do is make an overwhelming systematic case to overcome the resistance of industry. The stronger a case you make, the more scientists you have working on the project on an independent, objective basis, the more overpowering the forces of humane automotive technology will be.
My name is Shafiq Varani. I'm a professor of Islamic Studies at the University of Toronto. I want to talk to you about why the best way to fight Islamophobia is through education, with weapons of mass instruction. When 6 peaceful worshippers were murdered at a Quebec mosque, it was horrifying, but sadly, not surprising. A recent Abacus poll reveals that Muslims face more discrimination than any other group in this country. Hateful stereotypes of Muslims are rampant in news and in pop culture. A study of about 1,000 Hollywood films with Muslim or Arab characters found only 12 that depicted them as good people. 12 out of 1,000. There's something deeply disturbing about dehumanizing 1.7 billion people across the globe, of demonizing 1/4 of humanity. That's why I'm calling on governments and civil society to invest in education, to attack ignorance with weapons of mass instruction. 90% of religion departments at North American colleges and universities don't have a single specialist in Islam. And our schools teach little about Muslim civilization. And when I say civilization, I'm talking about how we teach trigonometry, not theology. For example, teachers might explain that Muslim mathematicians developed some of the most elegant proofs of the Pythagorean theorem, that the very words algebra and algorithm come from Islamic culture, that the most foundational medical textbook ever is Ibn Sina's Canon of Medicine. Next time you grab your morning double-double at Timmy's, remember that we get the word coffee from Arabic. From the stunning architecture of the Taj Mahal to the magical stories of the Arabian Nights. There's so much we've gained from Muslim civilizations. In 2015, Jewish communities were reeling from attacks in Europe. So Muslims formed a ring of peace around the Oslo synagogue to keep Jewish worshippers safe. After the Quebec massacre, it was a rabbi who organized Canadian Jews and Christians to form similar rings of peace to protect Muslims. Such humanity is inspirational. But combating hatred before it strikes any misunderstood community anywhere in the world will require those weapons of mass instruction. A pluralistic education will create a more tolerant world, the type of world all of us want. For The National, I'm Shafiq Virani.
Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you'll lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone.
85 years ago today, the first telephones went on sale to the public. To give you an idea what sort of a telephone you could buy at that time, we asked the telephone company to dust off some of the ancient models stored in the basement of its University Avenue building. This attractive demonstration wasn't really in keeping with the telephone scenes of 1877. Originally, boys were employed as telephone operators. They were later replaced by girls when it was found they were too rude to customers.
And this is something else that's in use now and will one day be a part of every home. It's called the video phone. If I'm off-center, you can't see me anymore. So,
You'd only want to do that if you weren't properly dressed.
The size, the shape, and the color has changed a little in the past 30 years, but it still does the same thing. Or does it? The fact is that the system to which this phone is connected has changed radically. Now this uses the phone, and this does, and so does this. The telecommunications industry has produced an electronic highway.
Tim Barnett is checking in with his office.
Hello, Claudine.
He's using his new high-tech cellular phone. It's got no wires, no jacks, and it travels anywhere. The people selling it claim it's the productivity tool of the 80s. It could equally be an expensive bust.
To ever call me on my cellular phone, I'd appreciate it.
This gadget doesn't come cheap. It costs between $2,000 and $6,000 just to get the equipment, and there's call charges on top of that.
Yesterday, they were gadgets used only by the rich and powerful. Today, your local pizza delivery is likely to have one. And in next to no time, so will most of us who want to have that phone, no matter where we happen to be.
Research in Motion dominates a small industrial park in Waterloo, Ontario. It invented and manufactures a pager called a BlackBerry. Its unique feature, a keyboard that allows you to send and receive email essentially in real time.
Now, when Apple says it plans to make a new cell phone, people listen. Today, the company showed off its iPhone with a touch screen.
Samsung has brought its fight for smartphone supremacy to Apple's turf.
If you refuse me, honey, you'll lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own.
The National.
The National.
A British cyclist is on a quest worthy of Jules Verne. Mark Beaumont wants to cycle around the world in 80 days, shattering the current world record of 123 days and 43 minutes. Today, he started preparing for his attempt with a grueling challenge in its own right, cycling around Britain's rugged coastline in just 20 days. That's more than 5,600 kilometers. Then this summer, he takes on the real monster, 29,000 kilometers across the globe, starting and ending in Paris. In New York, another literary classic comes to life this week. Gulliver's Gate is a massive display featuring miniatures of more than 300 cities and landmarks, from the Eiffel Tower and Taj Mahal to Stonehenge and St. Basil's Cathedral. Over 600 artists created this micro-universe. It opens Thursday. That's The National for this Tuesday night. I'm Wendy Mesley. For news at any hour, you can always go to cbcnews.ca. Thanks for watching.